Halachid base. So each individual piece of cloth shouldn't have less than 3 columns of writing on it. If you have a very narrow column, we'll have 1 or 2. It's not ideal. More than 8. This has to do with the nicest of the Sefer Torah. What if I have Yiriyah? It's very, very wide. I can fit 9 columns on it. So fine, I'm gonna write 8. If I only write 8, I'll have the extra blank space in the middle of nowhere over there. You should do is Rambam says you don't have to waste parchment by cutting off a whole extra column of space of blank parchment. Divide it in 2, 4 here and 5 there. Why not 3 and 6? Whatever. The Rambam holds it. The 4 and that's how they do it. Fine. Imagine when it's true.
What do you mean the common? To one side of the.
Divide it in half, not mamish half, but so this piece of now instead of having 1 that's 9 columns wide, I have 2. 1 is 4 columns wide, 1 is 5 columns wide. Yeah, so now I still have my 9 columns, but 2 pieces now instead of 1. I also have to add extra enough to sew the 2 together. So yeah, there has to be 9 columns plus 2 etzbayis to pull the strick off. Otherwise, you just do.
Plus 4, 2.
Otherwise, you're going to write your 8 and just cut off 2 etzbayis. Yeah. But man,
on each side.
When you cut it off, no, who cares about you cut off? The thing is, if you have exactly 9 amudim, you don't have the sewing. If you cut it in half. To sew, you're not going to be able to sew. You have less than 9 amudim, so then you can't do this, obviously, because it's narrower than you thought.
Should have broken up this perek echad and yesterday's for 3 days.
Now, as always, it's true. We're talking about this. When is it true that you can't?
When you have a good Rosh Hashiva, you can do it in 1 day.
When is it true that you can't make less than 3 on amud? But I'm telling you, the beginning or the end of the sefer. But sefer, you got to the last column. I feel a pasuk echad, the daf echad, the isnei said daf about it. What do I do if I get to the end after the last line of the Torah, and all I have is 1, and it has to, but the column I can't write on the bottom of the column. The column is finished, and I have to leave on the bottom 3 etzbayis, 4 etzbayis. So I have to make the next column, and then this column is going to have only 1 pasuk, 1 line, no problem. That's the Rambam says do this up the Sefer Torah. At the last one, if it comes out that you have taka 1 amud per 1 column. On a piece of parchment, that's fine. This piece of parchment only has 1 column, and even that column itself is only a half a line or 1 line. As I use, when you finish, you finished. You can't add to the Torah. The Torah say and you add this 1 column, this very narrow piece of parchment, to the rest of them. You gimel.
Will the width be
as 1 piece of parchment? It will affect the circumference of masha.
Okay.
Yeah, masha drop.
But it's not going to be the same width.
What do you mean the width? When you roll it up at the end,
the width of that Yiriyah.
Oh no, because at the end you leave only 3 etzbayis to wrap around. You're not supposed to leave a whole long extra thing doing nothing. Yeah. It's going to be a very narrow Yiriyah. Because teifin Yiriyah, when you tie them together, and teifin neisen ela begidim shall behema or chayat tahir, you're supposed to use kosher sinews. I feel in the veil sefer not even the animal itself wasn't kosher, wasn't shechted, but it's a kosher species. Tefillin, as we saw by tefillin. This is if you tie it with something else like strings of flax, or begide tamei, or you use non-kosher sinews. Puzzle, it's pasha yata diachsi. It's b'kalacha. You have to untie it and retie kalacha. When you sew them together, you don't sew like this sefer. It's the sewing is top to bottom. The entire thing is sewn. You don't do that. You leave a little bit on the bottom and on top, not sewn. If it's so tight, when you wrap it up, it'll snap. This way, you have some wiggle room that it'll be a stretch at the bottom. And as the Mepharshim point out, the guy wrapping it will realize, it's starting to come out on top like this. I got stuck. I can't do it so tight. You make at the end at either end 2 pillars of wood. One to be on the end. The amount you left over, as Ram told you, to leave 3 extra etzbayis. 3 extra fingers at the beginning, and you wrap that around. You sew it around those columns, those pillars. With sinews, so it should be rolling upon them. And then you have to make them a little bit far from the actual ksav of the column, so that when you roll it up, when it's in the rebracious, you shouldn't have any letters covered, right? You have to leave it extra space. And again, this is not just it's a teva, it's pasha halacha. You have to have these itzchayim. Look at the Shulchan Aruch apparently in Siman Yeridei Sevesh and Ches 4. You test it. Sefer Torah shenikra Yiriyah ketech shtei tevis. If the Sefer Torah tears and there's a column and the tear goes into the actual where the words are, but it doesn't go in the words, it goes between the words. Let's say you got lucky, right? Between the letters. You could sew it in that as it is in that place, as long as you make sure that the letters aren't going to be crunkled or smudged. Or, what's the way that's finished? Shonka's waiting. The Tech Shalish, if it goes deep into 3 lines, even though it didn't touch the letters, later you can't sew it. You have to make a new take that column out, that piece of parchment out, and be replaced. The main one is true. If it's an old Sefer you can't tell it's true with walnut juice. If you can tell it's true with walnut juice because it's old, I guess it starts to show after a while. And tell you for in that case, as long as even it goes three lines deep, but not 4, then you could sew it. Why the difference? I'm not totally sure why that is. The chain is a tear between columns or between words. You can sew it as long as it's not more than 3 deep. All these stitches have to be with sinews, as you do when you tie the cloth together. You have to make sure that you're not doing the way the letters are going to become crunkled or look like a beis or look like a nun because you smudged it, because you shrank it as you sewed it. That's not appropriate. That's not that's more than appropriate. That is ma'akim. It's not.